And last month was a epic month for I think all signs. And what I'm expecting to see this month is it bedding down a little, and I think that's what I can detect for you, Aquarius. The overall energy is that of the Four of Pentacles. Being careful with money. You could call it being miserly, but I think that the events of last month, the events going on in the world, makes us all a little bit careful with money. And maybe it's not a bad thing. In the past you were planning things, planning quite dramatic things. Have they been dashed? Well, you're certainly now setting off on a journey, but this is more like an unplanned journey. This is setting off with a wide-eyed innocence. In the future, you're going to need to take a rest. Well, that doesn't come as any surprise. And whatever has happened, I think you're feeling something of a burden. Maybe you've been left with dependents, but you've been left with things that you have to do, and you're probably finding it a bit of a struggle. I think other people probably think you're doing a good job, but you feel it's a struggle. What would change everything is if you could meet somebody that you love, a divine love, that would help share that burden with you, help you with things so that you didn't feel quite so all alone. Of course, we do have the Four of Pentacles. Is this largely about money or lack of it? Well, it could be. And you see, the outcome is, and this follows on from you struggling a little, is Two of Pentacles, struggling to do everything that you've got to do. You know, and remember when I first started my working life, and, you know, just putting the hours in was difficult enough. But then if your car went wrong and you had to fix it, and there weren't, particularly in the winter, there just weren't enough hours in the day to do everything that you'd have to do. It's a very fragile life, I recall. That's the feeling I'm getting from this spread for you, Aquarius. But stick around as we unpack it. Well, the energy that does dominate this spread and this reading is that of the Four of Pentacles, who I'd normally call a miser. You're being careful with your money, for sure. Is that a sensible thing to be doing at this moment in time? I've got to say, it does feel a bit like it. I use the word money, but of course this is the year that money as we know it is due to disappear. Undoubtedly there'll be some sort of a crisis that will precipitate it, such as a cyber attack by dark, unknown foreign governments or forces, but we're due to lose money as we know it. So, should I even be talking? Why don't I use the word pentacles? Mean with your pentacles. I mean, it seems a sensible thing to be doing, but I also think it's an attitude of mind, because of if we are being overly cautious, overly mean, we'll not be attracting blessings to ourselves. So it's never a great card to have, even though it might be a very sensible card. And as I say, it does run through the reading. Now, as I say, last month was an epic month for virtually all signs, and in the past you were planning something quite radical, maybe overseas travel, planning to do something very different, moving on. And you were actually planning it. He wasn't just thinking, oh, it'd be nice to do that, but you'd considered your options and you were saying, right, how am I going to go about doing this? So, really planning it, really thinking about it. And, I think those plans have been changed or at least shelved. Maybe as a result of last month, maybe. But and maybe you're mourning that somewhat. Maybe you're thinking, well, I should have done what I was planning. But I think something has happened to change your views. Now, you see, right now you are doing something very new. So it could be from this planning, but this is unplanned. So I don't think it is. If it is, it's a change of plans, if you like. It's saying to hell with this minute planning and let's go off on a journey without a care in the world, without knowing where we're going. And you look at the rendering, well, he's got all his belongings on his back and sun shining down on him and his little dog's running between his legs. The little dog shouting out, you're about to step over a cliff. And of course, when we do go off on new journeys like this, there are sometimes problems. But there's also great joy. And often things are better rather than worse. We have to take the rough with the smooth. But yeah, you've embarked on this new journey and you know it, Aquarius. Now, in the future, you're going to have to take a rest. And all I can say is I'm not surprised, It looks as though certainly this month you've got an awful lot on your plate. An awful lot on your plate. I mean, as I'm doing this reading, I don't have much on my plate at all, but I've suddenly become very tired. And I think that's what happens, when you find the energy when you need to. And you don't feel tired when you're doing these things. But as soon as you can rest, you sort of lose all motivation to do anything. And I think it is a well-earned rest, and I'm not going to attack you for it. Now you might be saying, well, you haven't told me why I need a rest, You've said I'll go off on a journey, but, so what? Well, it would seem that you feel that things or people are dependent on you. I often call this the single mother card. And then I say you don't have to be female and you don't have to be a parent. So if you could go with that energy, the energy of having so much to do, so much that you feel that you have to do it, maybe struggling to keep all the balls in the air, you probably feel you're not doing a great job. You feel like you're struggling. But I think others think you're doing a good job. Do you remember I said about when I first got a job, and you were putting in the hours, you needed the overtime to pay for the car and the flat and a bed sit in those days. You needed to put in a bit of overtime. But, if the car went wrong, particularly in the winter when, it was dark at night, how could you fix it, And you're trying to do all these things, and you felt life was a constant, I felt life was a constant struggle. I expect everybody else thought I was doing quite well. And I think that's how you are with this. Now, I've said the single mum card doesn't mean necessarily that you're a female or that you've got children. But what would help, or what would change the outcome at least, is you finding a divine love to share the burden. Now, again, we're talking of energies, so it doesn't actually have to be a lover in terms of love. It could be another person that you get on very well with, that's able to share the burden with you. But you can get the feeling of it here that, you're struggling, maybe with children, maybe you are a single parent. And what would really, really change your life is you finding a new partner and them coming in and sharing that burden. And that would change everything. And of course, if you remember, you were tired, in the future. Well, you'd be a bit less tired if you got someone to share the burden, wouldn't you? And I talked about burden and, the outcome of this, you feeling like you've got a burden, is you trying to balance things, struggling a bit to balance things. Struggling with, what you have to do at work, what you have to do, work-life balance. Struggling with all the things you have, all the plates you've got to keep spinning. And it does feel a bit like that. And you look at this rendering, juggling must be difficult. But, I find walking along a beach barefoot difficult. So imagine doing that and juggling. Yeah, well, I couldn't do it anyway. So it is about struggle. It is about you've got so many things on and you're finding it difficult to do them all. And if we remember, there was that original card, the miser card. I think money is a part of it, or at least your finances are a part of it. And I'm going to get some clarification. I decided this month not to seek clarification as much, but I think I do need it for you. Why did I decide not to seek clarification? I don't know, I just got a feeling not to. I mean, partially it is that I don't get many views on my tarot readings. So, if I get clarification, it makes it much longer. I can't, I have to put a lot more work in. But anyway, I'm doing it for you, so it doesn't matter, does it? Going to get clarification on that being tight with your money card. First card we get is the Sun, multiple blessings. Why would you be tight with your money if there's multiple blessings? Everything is good. The next card is the Three of Pentacles. Card of working together, card of teamwork. The final card does make sense. It's the Five of Cups, a card of pessimism. So the first card of clarity is the Sun card, which probably the best card in the deck, It should be multiple blessings, but what it can simply mean is a wonderful sense of happiness, a sense of joy, a sense of positivity. And that in itself should bring in multiple blessings anyway. So I think you've got I think you do feel this. But maybe you're realising that in order to achieve what you need to achieve, you have to be you have to keep control of your money a bit better than you have in the past. Maybe that's all it's telling us, I'm not sure. And the next card of clarity is that of teamwork, Three of Pentacles. So it's one of those where it's not like a production line. It's like you've each got your own specialisms, but you need to work with others to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, of course, you look at this rendering and it doesn't show people working as a team. Maybe the other workers are behind him, but, there's just one person shown on this. Does that mean anything? I'm not sure it does. I think you're realising what you need to do to change your life. But maybe you're realising how difficult it is as well. And the next energy does make much more sense. It's one of pessimism, one of despair. And you are prone to this, aren't you, Aquarius? And I think this is a slipping back to your old ways. I think what it is, we had the sun, very positive. Then realising you've got to work with others and maybe you've struggled with that. And it sends you into a depression and sends you into this poverty mentality maybe, which you have to avoid because that will attract more poverty. So I think that's what it's about. It's saying to you, and I do remember last month, it's saying to you, you are making strides forward, but keep your vibrations high because you'll lose so much. And I can summarise for you, Aquarius. What dominates this reading is, and it depends how you see it, you're either being sensibly careful with your money, which is no bad thing, or you're being miserly with your money through a sense of pessimism. And if it's the latter, clearly that is going to attract sort of bad luck to you, worse things. So it's something that you need to try and keep control of your vibrations. I think in the past, you know, you've been through pessimism and elation many times, haven't you, Aquarius? Let's face it. And one of these times of elation, in the past, you see, you were planning something quite radical and different. Whereas now you are setting off on a new journey with wide-eyed innocence, but this almost seems to be unplanned because it's wide-eyed and innocent. Have your plans changed? I don't know. I think it's a good thing, this journey. I don't think it's a bad thing. But it's almost as though other things that you have to do, dependents. I mean, you could be a single parent. You could actually have children that you need to look after. But I think it's more the energy of that. You've got so many things to do and you feel you can't really do it all by yourself. But who can you turn to? Who can you turn to help you? Because you're definitely struggling somewhat and you'll continue to struggle and try and balance things out, but you're going to find it difficult, you know, and in the end you'll end up tired out and having to take a rest. What would change things is if you met somebody. Now, you know, I mean, you might actually have children that you're having to look after by yourself, so finding a new love to share the burden would really help. But maybe that's just an energy we need to be speaking of. But finding someone that, you can really trust, that you really feel comfortable with, that can share some of this burden that you've got. Because you have so much to do and you realise you have so much to do, but you're struggling a bit to do it. You're finding it a little bit enormous. And I think central to this whole thing is money, or lack of it. But you need to keep your emotions in control. You really do, Aquarius.